The meeting was supposed to be about quarterly projections. Melissa Adeyemi had not dressed up for quarterly projections. She had dressed up because she was Melissa Adeyemi. And Melissa Adeyemi did not leave her Maitama home looking anything less than a national monument. That morning, she had slid into a champagne satin wrap dress that kissed every curve like it owed her money. Her edges laid to the gods, winged eyeliner so sharp it could file court documents, and gold hoops that caught light the way her accountant caught errors. Perfectly. Every time. She was 34. She owned 3 commercial properties in Abuja, a logistics company with 31 staff, and a skincare brand that had just been featured in Genevieve magazine. She had built all of it herself. No husband, no connection, no uncle in government. Just her brain, her stubbornness, and her mother's prayers, which, frankly, had been doing heavy lifting since 2009. The boardroom at Transcorp Hilton smelled of leather chairs and old money. Melissa settled into her seat, uncapped her pen, and prepared to be bored for 2 hours. Then he walked in. Aaron Bassi entered the room the way trouble always enters, looking absolutely gorgeous and completely harmless. 6 feet of dark, tailored perfection. A smile that belonged in a Nollywood movie poster. Jaw so sharp you could use it to cut the chin-chin Melissa stress ate every Sunday. He was a senior partner at some investment firm, something with capital in the name. And when he introduced himself across the table and his eyes landed on Melissa and stayed there, she felt it in her collarbone. Lord, she thought, clicking her pen. Not today. But today, apparently, had other plans. Aaron Bassi spoke with the quiet confidence of a man who had never once doubted himself. Not in a cocky way, but in the way of someone who simply knew his worth and had long ago stopped apologizing for it. He asked sharp questions. He challenged the presenter twice, politely, but surgically. Melissa found herself watching him from the corner of her eye, the way you watch a fire. Fascinated, a little cautious, unable to look away completely. After the meeting, he appeared at her elbow in the corridor. "You asked the best question in there," he said. Melissa raised one perfectly arched brow. "I know." He laughed, and the laugh, God, the laugh was warm and full and completely unguarded, like a man who had nothing to hide. He had things to hide. But we're not there yet. Well, besties, before we continue with this juicy story, as always, do tell us where you are watching from. I love to see how far these amazing stories travel. Also, don't forget to drop an emoji of how you are feeling today. Enjoy! He asked for her card. She gave him her business card, the matte black one with gold foil lettering, because she was not about to give this man the regular card. He texted her that same evening. "Aaron, I've been thinking about that question you asked, and also about dinner." Melissa stared at her phone, showed it to her best friend Chisom on video call. "Melissa!" Chisom's eyes went wide. "Answer him!" "I don't know him." "You don't know jollof rice either until you taste it and then you're obsessed." That analogy makes no sense. "Answer the man." She answered the man. The first date was at a quiet restaurant in Wuse 2. His choice, which she respected. He arrived before her, which she really respected. He pulled out her chair, Look, she was a modern, independent woman, and she didn't need her chair pulled out. But something about the casual ease with which he did it, without performance or announcement, made something in her chest go very quiet and very warm. They talked for 3 hours. He was funny. Not trying too hard funny, but the kind of funny that sneaks up on you so that you laugh before you've decided to. He was attentive. He listened. Actually listened. Not the kind of listening that is really just waiting for his turn to speak. He refilled her water glass without being asked. By the time dessert came, Melissa Adeyemi, who had crossed her own heart in 2021 and sworn off emotionally unavailable men, situationships, and we're just talking arrangements, was, to her own great irritation, completely intrigued. 6 months of dating Aaron Bassi was like living inside a daydream someone else wrote for you. Too good, almost suspicious, but you kept reading because the plot was excellent. He sent flowers to her office on random Tuesdays. He remembered she hated coriander and told every restaurant they visited unprompted. He met Mama Adeyemi at 3 months, brought her a basket of assorted biscuits and a wrapped Ankara fabric, sat in her sitting room with his back straight and his voice respectful, and called her Ma with such sincerity that the woman was smiling before he had finished his second sentence. Her mother, Mama Adeyemi, called at 9:47 p.m. as Melissa was walking to her car. "How was your day?" "Fine, Mama." "You sound like someone who met somebody." Melissa stopped walking. "Good night, Mama." "Melissa Oluwafunmilayo Adeyemi." She hung up. "He's fine, Sha," Mama Adeyemi told Melissa afterward, with the energy of someone making a grave concession. From Mama Adeyemi, "He's fine, Sha," was essentially a marriage certificate. 2 years after that boardroom meeting, Aaron Bassi got down on one knee in the same restaurant where they'd had their first date, with a ring that caught the light the way good decisions always do. Brilliantly. "I don't want a prenup," he said, when lawyers came up weeks later during planning. He held both her hands. His eyes were steady. "We're partners, Melissa. What's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours. That's the kind of marriage I want to build with you. One based on complete trust." Melissa's lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Barrister Okafor, sent her 3 WhatsApp messages in a row with escalating punctuation. "Sign the prenup. Sign the prenup. Melissa, I am begging you as a professional and as someone who has seen things." Melissa, floating on love and champagne and the absolute certainty that Aaron Bassi was a good man, told Barrister Okafor she would handle it. She did not sign the prenup. Mama Adeyemi heard this news over Sunday rice and stew and was quiet for a long moment. "Okay," she said finally, and resumed eating. Just okay. Not agreement, not protest. Just okay. In the tone of a woman who was already thinking 3 steps ahead and saying absolutely nothing about it. Everything was perfect for exactly 3 years. Then Aaron Bassi started coming home smelling like club smoke and other people's perfume. He started slowly. A late night here, a work event there. The kind of slow that doesn't alarm you until you look back and realize the tide went out and you never noticed. He began missing dinners. His laugh, that warm, full laugh, became rarer. He snapped at small things. He spent money. Not catastrophically at first, just loosely, carelessly, the way a man does when he has stopped tracking consequences. Melissa noticed. Melissa was not a foolish woman. She had built a company from scratch. She noticed things. She asked questions. She got answers that were technically sentences, but not actually information. She stayed patient. She prayed. She had long conversations with Chisom and one very expensive therapy session. Then came the call from Aaron's HR department. "Mrs. Bassi," said the voice on the other end, formal and careful, in the way of someone reading from a script written by lawyers. "We're calling to inform you, as he's listed next of kin, that your husband has been let go from the farm, effective immediately, following an internal investigation regarding inappropriate conduct toward a female colleague." The room was very quiet.
Melissa set her phone down on the kitchen counter. She looked at the kitchen she had designed herself, the one with the cream marble and the copper fixtures she'd imported, and she thought, with the eerie calm of a woman who has just watched a thing she feared come true, "So, there it is." She called Barrister Okafor. "It's Melissa." "I know," said Barrister Okafor, who clearly had been waiting for this call for approximately 3 years. The divorce letter arrived Aaron on his phone at 7:14 a.m. on a Tuesday. He called her immediately. She did not pick up. He called again. She did not pick up. He drove home from wherever he had spent the night, still in yesterday's shed, smelling of very poor choices, and found Melissa at the dining table in a cream satin robe, eating sliced mango and reading something on her tablet with the serenity of a woman who had slept extremely well. "Melissa," his voice cracked.
She looked up. Her eyeliner was already done. At 8 a.m. The woman was committed. "Aaron," her voice was level, "you can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything since I registered my first business." He sat down across from her. He tried several things: remorse, charm, anger, more remorse, an attempt at tears that did not quite land convincingly. Melissa ate her mango and watched him with the patient expression of someone who has already made a decision and is simply allowing a process to complete.
"I need more time," he said finally. "You've had 3 years of time," she said. "You spent them in clubs." He left without taking the letter. He came back 4 days later. He took the letter. And then Aaron Bassi, the man who had looked into Melissa Adeyemi's eyes and said, "I don't want a prenup. I trust you." That man sat across from his own lawyer and requested 50% of everything his wife owned. Barrister Okafor received the legal notice and forwarded it to Melissa with a single emoji. Because Barrister Okafor knew something Aaron Bassi did not know. Aaron Bassi was about to discover that Melissa Adeyemi's properties All three commercial buildings in Abuja, the logistics company, the skincare brand, the land in Kuje, the investment portfolio, were registered in the name of one Mrs. Grace Folake Adeyemi, Melissa's mother, who was currently in her Abuja home, watering her garden, wearing a kaftan, and listening to Ebenezer Obey on low volume. Completely untouchable. Now, on the last chapter, we left Aaron Bassi holding a divorce letter he did not want, and Melissa Adeyemi eating mango at her dining table like a woman who had already won a war nobody else knew had started. But let us go back, just a little, just small, because some of you may be wondering, when exactly did this man begin to show his true color? You see, it did not happen overnight, no. Evil never announces itself with a loudspeaker. It tiptoes, it arrives quietly, in small doses, wearing the face of stress, of tiredness, of "I'm going through something, baby, just give me time." Aaron's unraveling began in the 14th month of marriage. It started with whiskey. Not the occasional glass, no, that was normal, that was fine. But the kind of whiskey that starts appearing on the kitchen counter before 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. The kind that makes a man's eyes go a little distant, a little somewhere else, even when he is sitting right in front of you. Melissa noticed. Of course she noticed. This was a woman who audited her own company accounts quarterly and caught a discrepancy of 3,000 naira in 2019. She noticed everything. "Aaron," she said one evening, sitting beside him on the sofa, her voice careful and gentle, her hand on his arm. "Talk to me. What is happening with you?" He looked at her, and for a moment, just one, something real passed through his eyes, something tired and ashamed and almost honest. Then it closed. "I'm fine," he said. "Work stress. You worry too much." And Melissa, who loved this man, who had stood before God and their 400 guests and promised to stay, Melissa believed him. She believed him 3 more times after that. By the 2nd year, Aaron had discovered that Lagos nightlife was apparently an excellent solution to whatever problem he was refusing to name. He began coming home at 2 a.m., then 3, then sometimes not until the pale gray of early morning, shoes in hand, like a man who thought removing his footwear would somehow conceal the smell of 4 hours in a nightclub. As if Melissa Adeyemi, light sleeper, could not hear a 6-foot man trying to tiptoe across Italian marble flooring. She heard him every time. She lay in the dark and she listened to him move through the house, and she stared at the ceiling, and she had conversations with God that were very long and not entirely polite. Chisom, her best friend, was less diplomatic. Melissa. Chisom had driven over on a Saturday morning with chin-chin and opinions, both uninvited, both consumed freely. "This man is forming night shift worker without a night shift job. How long are you going to manage this? He's going through something. Yes, he's going through your patience at speed." Melissa said nothing. She ate the chin-chin. But it was the women that broke it. Not one woman, no. If it had been one woman, perhaps Melissa, in her generosity, might have found a way to sit across from her husband and have the kind of conversation that saves a marriage. But it was not one. It was a pattern, a style, the kind that showed up in changed phone passwords and deleted messages, and a particular nervous energy Aaron developed whenever Melissa picked up his phone to check the time. Melissa did not snoop. She was not built for snooping. It was beneath her, and she knew it. But she had eyes, and the eyes were doing their job without her permission. The HR call, when it came, was almost a relief. Almost. Because there is a particular grief, children, in being proven right about something you prayed you were wrong about. It does not feel like victory. It feels like standing in a room where something beautiful used to be and looking at the empty space it left behind. Melissa sat in her kitchen for a long time after that call.
Then she washed her face. We did her eyeliner. Wings sharp, precise, perfect. Smoothed down her burgundy satin dress and called Barrister Okafor. Because Melissa Adeyemi did not fall apart. She reorganized.
Aaron, upon receiving the divorce letter, went through what Chisom would later describe as the full 5 stages of a Nigerian man being held accountable. Stage 1, disbelief. You cannot be serious, Melissa, over this small thing. Small thing. The man said small thing. Stage 2, negotiation. Baby, let us talk. We can fix this. I will go for counseling. I will stop drinking. I will... Stage 3, anger. So, everything I invested in this marriage means nothing to you? Nothing? What he invested. Stage 4, pity. He actually cried, real tears running down his face. And Melissa, who was wearing a gold silk blouse and had somewhere to be, handed him a box of tissues with the energy of a woman returning library books. Efficient, unbothered, completely done. Stage 5, the lawyer. This is where Aaron Bassi made the last and most spectacular mistake of his marriage. He hired a lawyer, a sharp one, Barrister Emeka Nwosu, known around Abuja legal circles as a man who could find assets in places assets had no business being. And Barrister Emeka Nwosu, sharp as he was, began pulling at threads. He found the logistics company. He found the skincare brand. He found the commercial properties. And then he found something that made him go very still at his desk. Every single asset, every property, every registered business, every plot of land was in the name of Mrs. Grace Folaki Adeyemi. Not Melissa Adeyemi Bassi. Not Melissa Adeyemi. Grace Folaki Adeyemi, the mother. Barrister Emeka called Aaron. I need you to come into the office, he said. His voice had the particular flatness of a man recalibrating everything he thought he knew about a case. There is something we need to discuss. Aaron arrived in a pressed agbada, smelling of the cologne he wore when he wanted to seem important. He sat across from his lawyer with the confidence of a man who believed he was about to be handed 50% of a fortune. Barrister Emeka slid a document across the table. Aaron looked at it. He looked at it for a very long time. What is this? He said finally. This, said Barrister Emeka, removing his glasses and cleaning them with the tired energy of a man who had seen too much, is the entire legal picture of your wife's assets. He paused. None of which are technically your wife's assets. Silence. Then whose? Her mother's. More silence. Aaron Bassi sat in that chair and felt the floor tilt underneath him because he was beginning to understand something. Something that had been true from the very beginning, long before he had ever walked into that boardroom smelling of cologne and confidence. He had never been playing against Melissa. He had been playing against Mama. And Mama had been playing an entirely different game.
You see, what Ayeron did not know, what he could not have known because he had been too busy being charming to pay attention to the quiet woman with the Ankara and the biscuits and the very calm eyes, was this. On the evening that Melissa told her mother she would not be signing a prenup, Mama Adeyemi had finished her Sunday rice, washed her hands, gone into her bedroom and made 3 phone calls. 1 to her lawyer, 1 to her accountant, and 1 to Melissa. Very short, very simple. Bring me all the documents, my daughter, every single one. We are going to do something. And Melissa, trusting her mother the way she had trusted her mother since she was 4 years old, and Grace Adeyemi had told her, "You are enough, you have always been enough," had brought every document. And Grace Folaki Adeyemi, retired civil servant, grandmother-in-waiting, lover of Ebenezer Obey and Sunday Rice, had quietly, legally, completely moved everything.
Aaron Bassi left his lawyer's office that afternoon and drove to his friend Tunde's house and sat in Tunde's parlor and stared at the wall for 45 minutes without speaking. Tunde, to his credit, did not ask questions. He simply brought out 2 bottles of malt, because clearly this was not a moment for alcohol, and sat beside his friend in silence. Finally, Aaron spoke. "Her mother," he said. "It was her mother." Tunde nodded slowly, the way you nod when you are processing information that is both shocking and somehow completely makes sense. "Brother," Tunde said carefully, "did you not notice, at the wedding, that woman prayed over the food for 11 minutes? Aaron said nothing. 11 minutes, Aaron. A woman who prays over rice for 11 minutes does not leave anything to chance. Aaron Bassi put his face in his hands. And outside, somewhere across Abuja, in a compound garden with good soil and healthy tomato plants, Mrs. Grace Folaki Adeyemi watered her garden, listened to Ebenezer Obey, and did not think about Aaron Bassi even once.
Because that is the thing about women who build in silence. They do not need to watch the storm. They already built the shelter before it came. And Melissa had a meeting that afternoon. A new business, a new chapter, a burgundy satin dress and eyeliner that did not move. She walked into that meeting room and she sat down and she smiled the smile of a woman who had lost nothing. Because her mother had made sure there was nothing to lose.
Now, we have reached the part of the story that every good tale must arrive at eventually. The part where the dust settles, where the smoke clears, where everyone finally sees what was always true. They just could not see it before because the view was blocked by a very handsome man in a very expensive suit. Come close. We are almost at the end.
The news traveled the way news travels in Nigerian social circles, which is to say, at the speed of light, wrapped in WhatsApp forwards and dramatic voice notes, and at least 3 different versions of the truth. By the end of the first week after Aaron's lawyer filed the asset claim, half of Abuja knew. By the end of the second week, Lagos knew. By the end of the third week, someone had posted about it on Twitter, anonymously, vaguely, with just enough detail, and the comment section had become a courtroom, a comedy show, and a masterclass in Nigerian proverbs all at once. The goat that wanders into the lion's den should not be surprised by the teeth. This man went to collect his share and found out he had no share to collect. God is good. The mother knew. The mother always knows. She screenshotted every single comment and sent them to Melissa in a folder she titled Justice Served Hot. Melissa, to her credit, did not engage, did not repost, did not comment, did not even like a single tweet. Because Melissa Adeyemi had learned long ago that the woman who wins does not need to announce it. The scoreboard does that for her.
But let us talk about Aaron, because this story would not be complete without understanding what happened to the man who bit the wrong hand. Aaron Bassi, upon discovering that his wife owned legally, on paper, in the eyes of every court in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, absolutely nothing, did what any reasonable man would do. He tried anyway. Yes, he tried anyway. Barrister Emeka, to his professional credit, attempted to find an angle. Any angle. He looked at the timeline of the asset transfers. He looked at the dates. He looked at the documentation. Everything was clean. Frighteningly, beautifully, immaculately clean. Because Mrs. Grace Folaki Adeyemi had not done this in a hurry. She had not done this in panic. She had not done this sloppily.
the way people do things when they are afraid. She had done this carefully, over months, with full legal counsel. Every transfer properly documented, properly dated, properly filed. A retired civil servant who had spent 31 years watching government paper move and knowing exactly how it should move. The woman had not left a single thread loose. Barrister Emeka looked at the documents for a long time. Then he looked at Aaron, and in the way of a lawyer who respects the work of a superior legal mind, even when that mind belongs to a grandmother in a kaftan, he said, "There is nothing here, Aaron." Silence. There is genuinely, completely, legally nothing here. Aaron stared at him. "She planned this," he said quietly. Not angry, not loud, just quiet. The quiet of a man finally fully understanding something. From the beginning, before the wedding, she already... "I cannot speak to intent," said Barrister Emeka carefully. "What I can tell you is that every document is legitimate, every transfer was lawful, and there is no case." Aaron Bassi sat back in his chair, and something moved across his face. Something complicated, something that was not quite shame and not quite grief, but lived in the neighborhood of both. Because in that moment, he was not thinking about the assets. He was thinking about a woman in a champagne satin dress, asking him sharp questions across a boardroom table. He was thinking about 3 hours at dinner and a laugh he had never had to perform. He was thinking about a mother who brought Ankara and biscuits and called him sir and looked at him with eyes that were kind, and he now understood, completely aware. He was thinking about what he had and what he had thrown away. But children, and this is important, we do not feel too sorry for Aaron Bassi. We do not. Because a man who had something real and chose clubs and bad decisions and other women does not get to collect sympathy along with the consequences. He gets the consequences. Just the consequences. That is how it works.
The divorce was finalized on a Thursday morning. Melissa wore a deep emerald silk blouse and tailored trousers to the final court appointment. Gold earrings, simple hoops, not the dramatic ones, because this was not a performance. Her eyeliner was perfect. Her skin glowed. She signed the papers with a pen she had brought from home. Her own pen, matte black, gold nib, because Melissa Adeyemi was not about to use a borrowed pen on the most important document of her 30s. Barrister Okafor, seated beside her, watched her sign and said nothing. But when Melissa capped the pen and looked up, Barrister Okafor gave her one single nod. The nod of a woman who had been waiting for this Thursday for 3 years.
Outside the courthouse, Chisom was waiting. She had brought a flask of zobo and 2 cups because she had decided that this moment deserved a toast, but also that it was too early for anything stronger. "How do you feel?" Chisom asked, pouring. Melissa accepted her cup, looked up at the Abuja sky, wide and blue, and completely unbothered by the events of the morning. "Like myself," she said. Simple, warm, let it land. Chisom clinked her cup against Melissa's. "Welcome back."
That evening, Melissa drove to her mother's house. Not to celebrate, not with noise and fanfare, just to sit. The way daughters sometimes need to sit with their mothers after something hard has finished. Not to talk, but simply to be in the same room as the person who has always been their safest place. Mama Adeyemi was in the garden when she arrived. Kaftan, garden gloves, Ebenezer Obey playing from the small radio on the windowsill. The evening light was going golden and soft, and the compound smelled of earth and her mother's rosewater, and the dinner already cooking inside. Melissa sat on the low wall at the edge of the garden and watched her mother work. For a while, neither of them spoke. Then Mama Adeyemi straightened up, pulled off one garden glove, and looked at her daughter. Really looked at her, the way mothers look when they are reading everything behind your eyes. You are okay, she said. It was not a question. I am okay, Melissa said. Mama Adeyemi nodded, put her glove back on, returned to her roses. Then Mama Adeyemi straightened up, pulled off one guiding glove, and looked at her daughter. Really looked at her, the way mothers look when they are reading everything behind your eyes. You are okay, she said. It was not a question. I am okay, Melissa said. Mama Adeyemi nodded, put her glove back on, returned to her roses. Then Mama Adeyemi straightened up, pulled off one guiding glove, and looked at her daughter. Really looked at her, the way mothers look when they are reading everything behind your eyes. You are okay, she said. It was not a question. I am okay, Melissa said. Mama Adeyemi nodded, put her glove back on, returned to her roses. Then Mama Adeyemi straightened up, pulled off one guiding glove, and looked at her daughter. Really looked at her, the way mothers look when they are reading everything behind your eyes. You are okay, she said. It was not a question. I am okay, Melissa said. Mama Adeyemi nodded, put her glove back on, returned to her roses.
As for Arun Basi, he moved back to Port Harcourt, started over, got a lower-level position at a smaller firm. His friend Tunde reported, via Chisom, via the very active group chat, that he had stopped drinking, that he was quieter now, more careful. We do not wish Arun Basi's suffering children. We are not that kind of storytellers. We simply wish him understanding. The kind that comes, unfortunately, only after loss. The kind that hopefully makes a man ask himself hard questions in the dark and come out the other side changed. Whether Arun Basi became that man, only Arun Basi knows.
Melissa Adeyemi relaunched her skincare brand 6 months after the divorce. New packaging, deep jewel tones, gold lettering, a tagline that Chisom came up with at midnight over the phone and that Melissa used without changing a single word. Built by her, protected by grace. The grace, of course, had 2 meanings. The skincare brand sold out its relaunch stock in 11 days. Genevieve magazine called it a comeback story. Melissa called it a continuation. Because she had never actually stopped. She had only been briefly inconvenienced by a man in a good suit.
We have finished this story. Thank you to everyone that stayed to the end. I genuinely appreciate it. Do check out my other stories if you are new. I am sure some will resonate. Take care, besties.